Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. It's Jen, and I'm back with a combination of not only a design inspiration but also a techniques tutorial. So welcome aboard everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today, and let me tell you about the project we're going to make today. The project we're going to make today is what I call a split necklace, a single strand split necklace. And what that means is we're using one continuous piece of wire, but we are going to end up splitting that wire into two different directions to create this beautiful split looking necklace with a focal. And we're using pretty much all crystals, but I do have some spacer beads here. So if you are interested in a technique like that, stay tuned, because that's what we're going to jump into in today's project. And of course, you can see I've got green on the mat. It is going to be inspired by the upcoming spring season. So I think these greens and whites are just beautiful. And that's what we're doing, is I'm using a 12mm barrel faceted crystal bead in green iris, focal. And then the Rondelle beads I'm using are in seafoam green and white. They are 6mm faceted. And then I'm using the Czech glass 4mm faceted beads, and they are in lime green. Then I am using some 4mm stainless steel spacers. They're round spacers. And then I'm using a toggle clasp, and we'll use some wire guardians, of course, our crimps. Our wire we're going to use is to just do a little wire wrapping on our focal. We'll use a 22 gauge artistic wire. Our beading wire is the most important part of this project. 49. So I have a 49 strand today. It's a 0.018 inch. Okay. If you have a 19 strand, a 0.015, 0.018, 0.019 inch, all of those wire sizes will work. Split technique, particularly the reason is because we are using crystals. And crystals are very, very lightweight, and it's a very delicate, dainty type of necklace. And they're very lightweight, as I just said, so we need the maximum amount of drape and the maximum flexibility, which we get with our 49 and 19 strand, okay? And then, of course, we'll need a tape measure, and then our standard tools. So in order to go ahead and get started, cut your wire, guys. And this is probably going to be around a 16 to 17 inch. So cut yourself a generous amount, like I'd go around 18 inches of wire. Give yourself a couple of inches for any mistakes or adjustments that we need to make, and of course our crimping. So we'll go ahead and start by cutting off an 18-inch piece of wire. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and wire wrap and get our focal on there. Since it's a split technique, we have to do this first. And so all we need is a very small piece of wire, probably, I don't know, 3 inches or so, 3-4 inch piece of craft wire. Okay, and so now we'll just go ahead and we'll just do a small amount of wire wrap on the top. I don't want too much. So, I mean, maybe like a couple of fingernail spaces there. Not much more than that. I'm going to put it towards the end of my wire because I want a small loop as well. So we'll go about there. It looks nice and clean, and it's fine. And so now that's what we have for our... Okay, so the first thing, guys, is we've got our wire. Let's just go ahead and feed that focal right on one strand to center our wire. Just go ahead and let it drop down. We're going to flush our wires, our tail ends, right at the top here, make them flush. Run our fingers down the wire, and now our focal just drops down. That centers our wire. Keeping our wires together, we are going to grab one of our little 4mm Firepolish beads, and we'll feed both of the wires through that Firepolish. And we're going to pull that all the way down. And so I'll stop right there and pull this up and show you this is what you'll have. Okay, so we have our focal and we have our Firepolish right there. Don't worry about this is going to keep, sliding up, we're about to split this technique in a second here, and this will start to tighten down, okay? So now the next thing we're gonna do, guys, is we are going to now begin splitting. So what we do is, well, first of all, let me untwist my wires, okay? So we have 2 wires, okay? And so what we're gonna do is we are gonna start by putting on each wire one of our silver spacer beads, and we'll let that drop down. And then this is what you have, okay? And again, it's not gonna be tight just yet, but it will be as we move along in a minute. But this is what we have, okay? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put one of our wires to the side, and we're just gonna focus on one side, my pattern. So I'm gonna go 3 rondelles. So I'm gonna do, or 3 white, so I'm gonna put on a rondelle, and then a fire polish, and then a rondelle, and then a fire polish, and then a rondelle. And so each section that I'm working in, I'm doing 3. What I mean by that is every time I put a silver spacer, I'm doing it every 3 beads, every 3 rondelles, rather. Okay, so I've got the white there, and then I did the spacer. I'm just going to repeat that exact pattern one more time. So we'll have a white rondelle, a fire polish, a white rondelle, and a fire polish, and a white rondelle. And then we go over here to our silver spacer beads, because that was 3 rondelles. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Okay. Show you that is my pattern. And now I will be continuing the same pattern with the green beads all the way up this side. But right now, so that we can get all of this tight down here, let's move to the other side. So we'll lay that strand over there. And now what we're gonna do is we'll go with the seafoam green. So we'll do the same exact pattern, but now with the green beads, with the green rondelles. And we'll do 3 of each with the silver spacer in between. And so now what's happening is, as I mentioned, as we're filling up the necklace, this down here is starting to go ahead and tighten itself down in a more natural way. Now, what we will do when we crimp this off at the end, I will show you how to center this perfectly. So we will pay attention when we're crimping, because when we end up crimping, it's like you're crimping off 2 individual strands, right? Because we've now split them off. And so now it's like it's 2 different necklaces. So when we're crimping, I will show you how to crimp them off. You do have to be careful when you're crimping. Meaning you have to tighten each side up individually. Really quick here, make sure that I'm even on both sides, which I am. And let's take a measurement here and make sure I have enough beads. I don't have to pull any more out, that I measure that correctly. And so I did. So when you measure, friends, take your measuring tape and forget the focal and that first bead that we put on there. Okay? Let me pull that up and show you what I mean. When we measure, we're going to ignore the focal and we ignore that first bead that we put on both strands. We want to measure from where our split begins, because this is the sizing around the neck. okay? So we're gonna measure from where we begin the split. So that's how you measure to your desired size that you would like. So I will just put the all the supplies in the video box for you guys, along with the beads that I use instead of the count of the beads. And then that, I think, will be useful because you can make this, by the way, to any length you want. You can make this all the way down to, an opera, length. You can make this 32 inches long if you want. There's no rules on the length here. So make this to whatever length you want. Just cut everything accordingly to the size that you desire. So I'm just going to measure from, I'll push these back down. So like I said, I'm measuring from where that split begins. And it looks like we are at 8.5, which is perfect. So 8 and 8 is 16, plus by the time we put our toggle on, which is a 1/2 inch, we'll be right at 17, we'll be right actually at around 18 inches, which is great. So now what we'll do is, let's go ahead and crimp this guy off, or polish on there. So to crimp it off, guys, what we're gonna do, and again, we are treating these as individual strands, okay? And so we're just gonna put them, we're gonna, lay this one way over here out of our way, okay? And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna first, let's get our crimp on, and let's get the wire guardian on here and the clasp, and then I'm gonna show you how to pull this down and tighten that up at the bottom to make sure that both sides are even, which you kind of have to do both sides exactly the same. So you're gonna end up doing exactly what we're doing now. We're gonna do the same thing again on the other side, just to make sure that it's straight. So, oops, forgot to put my clasp on. And so then we got our wire guardian on, and then we'll feed that over. We're gonna take that tail and we're gonna put it back through the crimp. And if you can get it through your first bead, that's great. And then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna begin to pull. Now, the one thing that is a little bit different about a split technique is, you know how we usually make sure, we have them like we have fluidity. To have fluidity and movement in our beads, we need to have them rounded so they're not too stiff. Well, in a split technique, it's a little bit different. We still want movement and fluidity, but we do want them to be more straight because they're completely like two independent strands. So basically what we're needing to do, and I'm going to grab a bead stopper so that I can pull this up and show you exactly what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to put a bead stopper on my other strand. So I have pulled this down, right? And so now this is what we have up here. But down here, as you can see, we have too much wire showing, right? And we're not flush down here. So now what we have to do is we need to pull that green bead down and those silver beads down. And this is where we need to really pull this down as far as we can get it. And as we pull, that should come down, that bead that we put, that fire polish bead right there that we put on the split, because that's where we just want it to be nice and tight. And again, I have a bead stopper on this side, and so what I'm doing is I have my bead stopper right on the edge of my beads on this other strand that we're going to work on in a second. And the reason for that is because this is what you want. You want to have these two silver beads as straight as they can be, so your split is even at the bottom. Okay? Can you see that? So now I've got that pulled all the way down, got that pulled nice and tight up here, and I'm looking down here and I can see that that fire polish is literally hitting the wire wrapping of that focal. There is no movement here, and that's exactly what I want, okay? And so I am using the magical crimper, So I do need to put, for just good measure, I'm going to put a piece of dummy wire in here. And again, this is just for good measure for me, even though I'm using a 0.018 inch wire, which the Magical Crimper likes. It's 49 strand. It's so flexible. I just want to make sure that I'm good. I'm not taking any chances that this is coming apart. So I want to have a nice, secure crimp here. And again, if you are using a standard crimper, then you would just crimp as you normally would and ignore this particular part. And so I'm going to go ahead and put my crimping plier in there, right over my bead, my crimp, or my crimp tube, and give that a nice squeeze. And then I'm gonna go round and round. Guardians. But what's great, guys, about the wire guardians, and now we're just gonna go ahead and flush cut our tails off, is this also gives your jewelry a very secure finish and a very professional finish. And it looks just beautiful. And I'm gonna show you that in 1 second here. So now do you see? Look at what we have. Look at how beautiful and professional that finish is. And also the wire guardian protects your wire from wear and tear. So now your clasp is moving along the wire guardian, right? So one side is done. Now we are going to repeat that exact process on the other side. And I'm going to remember to add a fire polish here so I don't lose my crimp bead in that spacer. And so now we will go ahead and we feed our crimp tube on. Now we will grab our wire guardian. And I'm sorry, I didn't do it before, I'll do it now. We feed the wire guardian, the wire up one side of the barrel of the wire guardian, up and over the horseshoe, down the other portion. There's a little barrel there of the wire guardian. Now we have a tail. We go ahead and grab the other portion of our clasp. We're going to feed that on that tail and right down on that wire guardian, and then we're going to squeeze the wire guardian together. Now we take this tail, we're going to feed it through our crimp and our first bead. And now we'll grab that tail, grab the toggle, and we're going to go ahead and start to pull it together. And now same thing. We're going to go down here and we are going to look, and oh, that's nice. I pulled it nice to where it actually just tugged it down, because that's exactly what you want. I'll grab the other side. So do you see there how those two silver spacer beads, they are totally even? And that's exactly what you want. So yes, you want fluidity and movement, but you're gonna get it by using that 49 strand wire without having to, worry about this being in a circle because or looped up like a snake like we normally do. You're gonna still get that effect because you really can't do this when you're doing a split technique. We've got to kind of keep them separate, just like you see me doing here. In order to get this all nice and flush down here on the bottom, this is how you have to do it. Okay, so I've got that all nice and pulled up. Again, I'm gonna grab her. So we just flush cutting our wires off here, guys. And we are done. And I will show you what we have. I'm gonna pull you up a little bit. Oops, sorry, that was wrong. Okay, there we go. So let me get all of this out of the way here and show you what we have. So that is what we have. We have a beautiful spring-inspired green, seafoam green, and lime green split crystal necklace. And I will pull it up for you. It is so beautiful. And these wire guardians, we have a beautiful professional finish. This is so strong. That is not going anywhere. But that's what that looks like. Let me put that through there. So you can see that's what we have at the end with our crimps and our wire guardians. Very, very nice. And this is what we have. And then I'll come to the split here. And that's what you have with your split technique. Just absolutely beautiful, you guys. That is so, so pretty. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Give me a like, thumbs up if you did. And until next time, friends, be blessed.